we can go ahead and get started when everyone's ready.
Thank you so much, Melanie, and welcome. It's so nice to see all of you. We didn't get to see you at the conference, so I was just scanning all the participants. So I'm delighted that so many of you have been responded to be here, and an opportunity for you to meet virtually and for us to meet you. And I'm Jody Frost, the current president of the National Academies of Practice, and I'm with my colleague Rick Weisbarth, who is our president-elect of the National Academies of Practice. So welcome to our new member orientation. I hope all of you have had a chance to take a look at the document we sent you that provided some background, as well as the short orientation that we gave on another webinar, at least to give you some of the structure and governance. With that, Rick and I are going to alternate our slides just so you can hear different voices, and we'll be going back and forth a little bit and asking some questions in a chat room to get you connected. So with that, I'm going to turn the next slide over to you, Rick.
Yeah, thank you, Jody. Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to be with us. And most importantly, thank you for becoming part of our NAP family. We really appreciate the fact that you have an interest in NAP and that you want to help us promote interprofessional care. That's what we're all about. We certainly want to apologize to everybody for having to cancel the forum on such short notice. I think, as everyone will attest, things were changing on a very rapid basis, and it went only not from day to day, but literally hour to hour. And we had to make a decision very quickly. And I was sharing with another colleague just before we made the decision. That week before, I was actually in Atlanta at a meeting, and I was at a meeting in conjunction with the Centers for Disease Control, and that was on the Thursday before. And I walked in and everyone was still shaking hands, and I was kind of amazed. And I said, I'm surprised that you're still shaking hands in light of everything. And they said, why? You know, why should we be concerned about that? And it literally was that next day that they changed to, you know, no shaking hands, social distancing, need to wash. And I mean, it literally happened that quick. So even for an organization like CDC, things were rapidly changing. The reason we wanted to thank you for your understanding, we're still trying to work through all of the aftermath of having to cancel the meeting on such short notice. And the commitment that we've made to everybody is that we will figure everything out and get to you by May 1st regarding potential refunds, and what we're looking at is potentially repurposing some of the content of the meeting, etc. So bear with us for another couple weeks as we try to sort through our ever-changing world. Jody, I'll turn it back to you.
You bet. And I do want to be remiss. I wanted to make sure that you all know who Melanie Bowser is, and you've seen a lot of emails from her. She's our executive director with AMR and our partner, and for me, my right, left arm, and everything else. She keeps me in line and makes sure that I am doing, and Rick, and what we need to be doing. So I have to extend our appreciation. I could not do this job without Melanie's. If we can go to the next slide. So we're going to do a check-in question, and it would have been at a small group table and you all would have had a chance to meet, and obviously that's not happening. But the way we're going to do the check-in is we'd like you to respond in the chat, and the question is, how are you doing with COVID-19? With everything going on and what canceled this, just how are you doing? And it's a really simple question, so feel free in the chat just to start responding to everybody, and just, you know, whatever comments you have about how you're managing in isolation. You're from all over the country, so very interested. How many of you are loving virtual anything?
Love it. Not really. No. I have been busier in back-to-back Zoom meetings than I ever have in my life.
Yep. Our big excitement is mealtime.
Yeah.
That and working out in the yard, getting used to it. Yeah, when they said April 30th, we have another month of this, my hat's off to how many of you are actually on the front line? are working with patients and in patient care right now?
Well, we're moving to telehealth right now, so I guess that's kind of frontline.
Yeah,
It's-
we're seeing patients only on an emergency basis in our nursing homes. We already have had 4 COVID positive cases in one of our nursing homes that have been shipped out to the hospital. We're working with our main hospital to develop, and we're working fortunately with CAPC to work on providing toolkits for the frontline providers. Also giving some thought to developing a scripted phone call preempting hospitalization for very frail, very older patients. I'm a geriatrician.
Thank you for sharing. And to all of those and the rest, those of you who are academicians in terms of pivoting on a dime from I'm in a classroom, where do I put the student in clinic? What about graduation? What about licensure? All of those things that you're all dealing with up in the air. I know that people are doing quick turnarounds, and in 3 days I've put courses online that weren't, and trying to figure out how do you do online simulations and everything else. So to all of you, thank you for adaptability, for resilience, for ingenuity and creativity. That's what NAP is all about. And for being an interprofessional team member, that's the other thing we're uniquely about. We're about scholarship and practice and education, and we're learning to live in a world that currently is interprofessional. From the value of all these professions is becoming far more apparent, not uniprofessionally, but interprofessionally in a pandemic environment. So I think it really tells us how important is interprofessional teams. Level 1 Trauma Center, if you could read these. Thank you to our heroes, our unsung heroes, and all of you who have made a difference in the lives of patients. My thought is we are closer across the globe and more connected than we've ever known in terms of that and our public health. Thank you for the sharing. This is the first time we've tried this. This is great. We can save all these responses, and I get to meet a little bit of you, Melanie and the rest of you, who you are in the room. This is the quickest way we could figure out. On a scale of 7 out of 1 to 10, is 10 good and 1 is the worst, or vice versa? I'm not sure which way that scale goes. With that, thank you for the check-in question, and we'll have a closing question as well. Let me take it back to you, Rick. And we had everything in the room, it appears, in terms of everybody doing from frontline to education to families to dealing with geriatrics, all of it. I knew we had an outstanding class. This tells me for sure we have an outstanding class.
And I think what we're all recognizing, Jody, is that now more than ever, we have to work together interprofessionally, because there's just so many issues that are facing the healthcare system in our country and around the world. And as we kind of fast forward to coming out on the other end, I think we can start to speculate what some of the issues are going to be. There's certainly going to be, some people who develop morbidities as a result of not properly exercising or not properly eating. There's going to be depression. There'll be a potential increase in pregnancies that are predicted. There's just so many things that, we don't even know what to anticipate. Now, what we wanted to talk about next is our next steps for 2020. And what we are in the process of doing right now, and Jody used the key word, it's pivoting. We are trying to pivot from having to cancel the meeting to taking some of the rich content that was developed and taking so many of the hours that were put in by the forum committee, by all the presenters, by all the keynote speakers, and trying to pivot that into online webinars and other material. So we actually have a task force that's been created, and in the very near future, we hope to take some of that content from Forum 2020 and offer it to all of our members so that we can continue in the spirit that the actual forum in San Diego was meant to bring forward to everybody. So stay tuned in the next couple weeks as we try to pull everything together. We will be offering those resources to everyone and give you a better taste of what actually being at a NAP forum was like via webinar and via the wonderful technology of Zoom. You're on mute, Jody.
There you go. I don't know how many of you have been to a NAP forum before, or whether this was your first, but it's the next slide. It's a very connected by intent. We have intentional connectivity. We have networking. We were planning for sessions where you join groups and actually develop in your area of interest projects that we had. And we're actually going to convert those and put those in 2021. Some of the ideas we had we're not going to lose. If you think about those three self-wellness health sessions that were going to be there with aromatherapy, with mindful practice and yoga, those are actually going to come back next year. We can't do aromatherapy and virtually. So we had a lot of people sign up for those for our own personal well-being, because clinician burnout, faculty burnout is high on the list. And after COVID, I have no idea where burnout will be, but we do want to bring some of those back. There are other opportunities in our hub, which was a new way. We were going to have connectivity with sponsors, as well as with poster sessions that are in the room, as well as sessions that we have with some of our VPs and their committees, sharing with you what goes on in those committees to help you connect with where do I want to actually volunteer in the future. We still want you to get engaged and volunteer, and opportunities to volunteer. I don't know, are all of you getting the NAP Times at this point? You're our members. You recently saw a call for people to serve on those committees. You are eligible and available to do that. So the Planning Forum Committee, which will begin shortly for 2021, is great. Public policy, there are subcommittees in those for research, for advocacy. We have professional development that has opportunities. The committees that are posted, the new scholarship committee is a brand new one under our VP for scholarly advancement, and he's a co-editor of our journal. These are opportunities. You do not need to wait 10 years before you get engaged, okay? NAP is consisting of people of amazing caliber. All of you are fellows, professional members, associate members. You're there because of the caliber and the distinction you have professionally as well as interprofessionally. You can get started. I'll give you an example. I have only been a member of NAP for 6 years. I'm in physical therapy. We only had an academy 6-year start again, and I'm president. So that tells you they'll let anybody in this job. So anyways, either way, you don't have to wait. You can start right now, and you pick what your interest is, where your passion is, put your name in. We normally had fish bowls, and you actually put your name in a fish bowl on your business card. So instead, feel free to put your name in, respond to any of those. We collect individuals, our current people, whether they want to stay on. People transition and move to other committees. They want to expand, they want to grow. They may do forum 1 year, they may do public policy another one. That's one of the wonderful pieces that you get to connect. And every one of those committees is interprofessional. By design, they're interprofessional. So no one profession dominates in any committee. That's how we make better decisions. That's how we make better policies, better forum committees, et cetera. So this is the beginning of your networking virtually, but it's a way to start connecting. You would have been our largest class to be inducted in the history of NAP. So that tells you how important you all are. It would have been the largest group of professional members also inducted into NAP, and as well as an affiliate member. We actually have one from Canada who would have been joining us as a NAP fellow, and that's Hossein Khalil. He's actually on this call. So, and we have associate members as well. So all of those, kudos to all of you. We hope you'll try to connect and use the NAP Times, use available ways to do that. We are happy to get you connected and get you networking around either topics or areas of interest, or in fact, within your academies. They also have your chair and vice chair have committees within your academies. You're welcome to get involved in those as well, whether it's at the NAP level or in each of your academy levels. I do need to make a correction so you all know, a recent passage. We are now no longer 14 academies, we're actually 13. 2 academies merged, and this is new for our history. Allopathic and osteopathic medicine are now one academy. Historically, they were separated for a lot of reasons because of the professions where they are, et cetera. In a recent council approval, they are now one academy called Allopathic and Osteopathic Medicine, which is great. It's actually a wonderful thing. So that's how quickly things are changing in our world. Let me take you back to Rick on the next one.
One of the committees that we have, as Jody mentioned, is public policy. And this is important to our organization, as I think you're aware from the orientation materials that were sent out. Advocacy is a big part of NAP. So much so that we've committed that every other year we will have our annual forum in the Washington, D.C. area. And the reason and rationale for that is so that we can actually advocate for interprofessional care. What we will do next year on Thursday is go to the Hill and talk with members of Congress about different aspects of interprofessional healthcare and how it is rapidly changing. And as mentioned, I think in light of where we're at with COVID-19, we're going to see a lot of changes and a lot of advocacy that's needed. So our public policy committee actually works very hard preparing the talking points for the organization, looking at what other bills may be present in Congress, and really helps get the organization ready for those Hill visits, as we refer to them, which occur every other year. So if you have a propensity for advocacy, our public policy team would very much enjoy having you become a part of it and helping shape the future of the organization. So with that said, I'll turn it back to you, Jody, please.
Before we change, let me let you know, NAP is the only organization currently interprofessionally that has a public policy and advocacy arm. Some of the others can't because of their mission, like the National Center is a publicly funded and it does not do public policy. It's one of the unique things we have. I also want to let you know, in our advancement, we are a primary stakeholder with several groups who actually seek our consultation as an interprofessional organization. Some of the examples include the Office of the National Coordinating Center, which deals with health information technology, AHRQ, in a recent document that was approved in which we gave significant commentary, which they accepted at all, was AHRQ, and it was in geriatric reimbursement. CMS recently has added us also as one of their primary stakeholders in helping them. So those are three examples, and there are others, of where we have become involved as primary stakeholders, and they ask for an interprofessional response to that. We also have substance abuse that responded to the National Academy of Medicine and AMA's opioid abuse, disuse, and we actually do a substantive commentary on that from an interprofessional lens. If we can go to the next slide. Rick had mentioned earlier around year-round professional development. Before we had to cancel the forum last year, based on surveys provided to our members, we actually do targeted professional development, and it's targeted to the needs of our members. It's specifically a member benefit for you, and last year it dealt with our three specific arms. So there were sessions on collaborative practice models and three unusual models in different areas that traditionally you don't think about where they have it: dentistry, medicine with partnering with dentistry, as well as veterinary medicine, some other areas, and they were excellent models. They're actually available for you to listen to. There are three that were done on the area of scholarship. So people were asking about, how do I submit a good abstract? How do I write a good article for the Journal for Interprofessional Education Practice? And how do I apply for interprofessional grants and funding? The third one around practice, we also had some on scholarship. And then the other arm was on around public policy. The first three were actually online webinars specifically preparing all of us to go to the Hill. So it was Advocacy 101, 102, and then our messaging. They were in January and 2 in February before we went to the Hill in the March, and you can expect that those will happen again. The Professional Development Committee is planning on doing another survey this summer, again, to target for that. That committee also has our champions who do CEs for our different professions, and they're unique to each profession, and doing the year-round professional development. So part of your benefit is access to targeted online learning specific to our members, plus whatever's going to come out of when we pivot for the online, for the forum. So with that, let me turn back to you, Rick.
Thanks, Jody. Jody's already mentioned how we really are interested in having all of you get involved in NAPS. And just to give a quick review of all the committees, once again, there's the Public Policy Committee, the Forum Committee, the Professional Development Committee, the Scholarship Committee, which is new, which is going to look at how we advance interprofessional care in terms of scholarly activities. And then, as Jody mentioned, next year will actually be the 40th anniversary of the National Academies of Practice. So we have a 40th anniversary committee or task force in place right now. And our prediction is that 2021 will probably be the largest NAP Academy meeting in the history of the organization. In addition to celebrating our 40th anniversary, we'll be combining the inductees from your class, which is 2020, as well as the inductees in 2021. And as Jody refers to it, we're going to have one big induction party on Saturday evening. So we look forward to getting to personally meet all of you and celebrate together. There are also several other committees that have representatives that are put forward by their professions, and those would be the membership committee and the finance committee. And then we have an awards committee and council leadership, which are elected type of positions. The awards committee is appointed by the president, and then the council leadership is elected by each of the professions, where we have a chair and a vice chair for each of the 13 academies. In addition, one of the things that we've started in the last couple years is town hall meetings. We do 3 of these a year, and the purpose of the town hall meetings is to update all NAP members on what's occurring in each of the different committees, the big issues that we're tackling, the progress that we're making relative to our strategic plan. So they're typically an hour meeting, hour and a half meeting, and they're meant to keep everybody involved. One of the best things that I like, and I think that you will hear from other members of NAP, is that this is the organization that really allows you to connect with others interprofessionally, as Jody has mentioned. And while we all belong to our own professional organizations, whether they're advocacy organizations or whether they're public policy or whether they're just member organizations, we get to interact with our colleagues on a very regular basis. But it's not oftentimes possible to interconnect interprofessionally. And what I personally like, and what I think you're going to hear others say, is that it really gives you a different perspective on your profession as you start to get to know, and as you start to get to network, and as you start to get involved with members of other healthcare professions. And I think what we realize is what the surveys have shown. We've entered into our given profession, and the main reason, based on research, is we enjoy working with people, we enjoy helping people, we enjoy working in communities. And NAP is the perfect place to witness all of that firsthand. So with that said, what we're going to do next is Jody will talk about how we can grow our family and the role that you play in helping to nominate others into our fold. Jody?
Yep, and with that, let me let you know, sorry, the next town hall meeting is May 2nd. And the time is, Melanie, from?
It's actually Tuesday, May 12th,
May 12th.
just the week after that. The town hall is Tuesday, May 12th at 4 p.m. Eastern. And we will be putting notification of that in the upcoming Nap Times editions. But if you want to mark your calendar now for May 12th at 4 p.m. Eastern, and we record those as well. If you can't make those live, you could still catch the recording and hear what we're discussing on those town hall calls.
And as Rick said, those started last year. We wanted a way to connect with members, so we're not just talking to ourselves as leaders, but really to have a touch point with all of you and a chance to share, but also to hear from you. So let's talk about nominating. Many of you are saying, well, I just got in, I can't nominate. Yeah, you can. And you can nominate not only in your own profession, but many of you work with colleagues interprofessionally. And in some cases, you may know more people in other professions, perhaps than in your own. You can nominate colleagues in any one of our academies. all of those are open to anybody nominating. And I actually have a list of 6 of them right here that are ready to go. The nominations are supposed to open the period April 1st, which is tomorrow. We have 2 rolling classes. The second one, the nominations need to be in by September in order for us to be able to get everything reevaluated, processed, and to notify the next cohort in time for the conference so they can sign up, et cetera. So there are several different types of nominations. Some of you on this call are fellows. And so for fellows, there are criteria, one of which is you have to be in practicing 10 years or longer. So you know, our criteria are, if I put it broadly, 50% is focused around the honorific component within your specific profession, recognition, and 50% is focused on the interprofessional component of how you work with others in other settings, whatever that setting might be. Those are individuals that you can nominate for fellows. The other category is the professional member, which is equally as important. Not all of us are in our career long enough and far enough along to be a fellow necessarily, but there are many who are bright shining stars, who are professional members, who have less than 10 years, but are showing the honorific and the interprofessional slant. And in fact, some of our practitioners who are probably younger have more interprofessional than some of us have had in our career, if we're really honest about it. So you can nominate people as a professional member as well. You're nominating them for a member recognition within their specific profession and academy. That's how they're reviewed. Once the nomination goes in, there's something online on the website that's very easy to fill out: the name, address, the academy, their title, and an email. You will get back in your inbox, thank you for nominating, and it confirms you nominated. From there, that form goes to the individual to let them know they've been nominated. It's often helpful to share with them what do they need to do. I will be honest, we have now converted to a new rubric and nominations because we're now across all of our academies, and this is a first, we are using the same standardized rubric that had not been done in the past, which means we're now moving to a level of consistency within and across academies. That when you look at the criteria are actually the same for all of them. The weightings may be different for certain academies, but the list of criteria are the same. That's actually helpful when people are trying to nominate for them because now they don't have to guess what they are. They are the same. Each of your academies has those criteria for nominations, and you certainly can access them from your membership chair, or your vice chair, or your chair can be happy to share the rubric with you. So I would suggest if you have people to nominate, you give their names earlier rather than later to give them sufficient time to fill it out. And think about the amount of time it took you to complete it. We actually have a different application form that also aligns with the nomination form now. So people, when they're answering the questions, they're answering them relative to what the nomination form is. So start thinking about individuals with whom you work, individuals who have mentored you, individuals you are mentoring along the way, and who would be really good candidates. One other caveat. Once upon a time, this organization was predominantly people who just put this on their CV as honorific and did nothing. I'm going to tell you that more than 35% of our members are engaged in NAP, and that number continues to grow. We really want people to be actively engaged and to be a part of this organization as opposed to just putting this on their CV. You get what you give, and you get more back when you give. Truly, I understand that in this organization and never thought I'd be here. So individuals you know who are not only excited, but want to get active and engaged, this is the great home for them and a place to think about it. And we're giving you that now because no one ever told me that I could think about people to nominate from the beginning. And so we really wanted you to know there are colleagues you work with every day that you know belong in here. With that, let's go to the next slide. Rick?
So our next meeting is going to be in Washington, D.C., as I mentioned. The dates are set. It's March 18th to 20th. So we would like to ask each of you to mark your calendars because this is where we will have the opportunity to do an induction and bring you into the organization. Anyone who is coming in as a distinguished fellow will receive a medallion Those who come in as professional members receive a pin and a certificate. So as I mentioned earlier, we expect this to be a big ceremony on Saturday evening, the 20th. It will feature both your class 2020 as well as those who are inducted into the next class 2021. So it is going to be a fun event. There'll be a lot of people there, and we'll learn and share together. We are already in the process of starting to kick off the planning for Forum 2021. So if any of you have expertise in the meeting planning area and have done that with your professional organizations, please apply, or please nominate yourselves, if you will, to be part of the Forum Planning Committee. We have room for everyone. There's a lot of subcommittees. As you're well aware, there's a lot involved in putting a meeting of this size together. There's a lot of moving parts. We also know that for 2022, we will be having our forum in San Diego. We're in the process of finalizing all that. As part of the having to cancel this year's meeting, we were able to negotiate with the hotel, and we will have the 2022 forum in San Diego, but we'll take 1 year at a time. And as I mentioned earlier, we're still in the process of sorting out exactly all of the implications of this year's meeting cancellation, but we will get back to everybody no later than May 1st in terms of potential refunds and all the other aspects that go with canceling a major meeting. Jody, anything further to add about our induction next year?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so all those who have a tux and you have beautiful evening dresses, they're not going to waste. You will still get to wear them. A lot of people have went and bought new things and they can still do it. There was a question back here I'm going to ask. How do committees meet? It is by Zoom. So all of the committees amazingly do their work online, and they're able to navigate that in subgroups. We figure out a way to get people to meet. I will share with you, for every one of the subgroups, there is a lead or co-lead. We know that not everybody can make every call. There's usually minutes, but we keep moving forward. One of the things we've learned is if you wait to always have everybody, you won't get the work done. And the forum, for instance, has very specific deadlines for us to have to hit. So we value accountability and responsibility. We hold accountable each and ourselves and others. And in order to make that happen, all of us have to believe in that. So if you're in other groups where you have meetings that don't get anywhere or you waste time, those aren't NAP. Everybody is busy and there's things moving and everybody gets assignments and we continue to move forward. With that, let me, somebody said, I don't hear from my academy. You ought to know. So NAP is interesting. The organization has a leadership group, but each of the academies meets differently, and it depends on the size of the academy and how leadership functions. So nursing is the largest academy of all. They don't meet the same way as a smaller academy that could do a Zoom call. So there is variability. You will learn that we have something called Basecamp. And all of our academies, if they haven't, are moving to that. It's a way to communicate where it comes into your inbox or email. Once you sign up, you'll be invited and you'll be able to see all the threaded conversations, whatever is going on. Some of them have regular monthly, bi-monthly meetings. Some meet at their annual or their meetings. They're actually professional meetings. All of you will have a meeting, one on site at NAP. There is always a time set aside that each of the different academies meets on site. There is one other thing for any of you who are associate members. We were supposed to, under Rick's leadership, launch our first associate collaborative group. And it was actually a group being formed that was interprofessional of all of our associate members. So they would have a meeting at a home as well. And they will be able to identify and elect a person who will be a non-voting member, but they will sit on the council to have a voice. So that didn't happen, and we're going to make that happen as well. One other thing you ought to know, our academy criteria has recently changed in the bylaws, and it is now a new set of criteria by which our other academies are beginning to look at the opportunity of becoming an academy in other professions. These criteria are still selective. They're still asking very important questions, but they are dealing with something that's changed from 40 years ago. And it's dealing with licensure is the only thing we now have: licensure, certification, registration. We have other ways that people are credentialed. We now ask the question, how are you interprofessional? That question was not asked in a previous academy. So there are a set of criteria. Those are available. There are some on the call, I'm aware, who are from other professions who may not have an academy, letting you know that we're working on an application for that, and the ability for those academies to begin to find the ways to move forward. And there are some strategies we can talk to you later about how to do that. If we can, we're going to go to our open Q&A session. And if you'd like, you can either do this online. So for instance, there's a question: will the hotel honor our payments made this year in 2022? Melanie, maybe you would take that question.
Sure. Thanks, Jody. So if you had booked a guest room in our Knapp hotel block at the Hyatt, you should have not been charged. So if you did see a fee and you were booked in the Knapp hotel block, you can email info@knapppractice.org and let us know. But they should have refunded or not charged you if you were booked in our room block. And that is part of, as Rick said, why we're going back to that same property in 2022. And we're excited to be going back to San Diego and hopefully make it there this time.
There was a question about, was it possible to put the rubric, the nomination rubric, in the Knapp Times newsletter, or is there another way for people to access that?
So I can take that, Jody. As far as the rubric is concerned, as I think we alluded to, there's different weightings by each of the 13 different academies. And within some of the academies, they have multiple rubrics, depending upon whether someone is a scholar, a practitioner, or public policy. So I don't think it's practical that we could publish the rubrics per se, but what we can publish in Knapp Times is what we have on the website, which is the criteria that's listed for the application. So as a nominee fills out their application, they are told to have materials in a specific category, which aligns perfectly with the rubric. So that would be an easy way to share that information so that everybody could see what the different characteristics or criteria, I should say, are for interprofessional as well as for their given profession. Melanie, would you like to add to that, please?
Sure. I think that's a great suggestion. And as Rick said, those criteria are also going to be part of, you'll be seeing articles in the Knapp Times about the class of 2021 nominations being open. And one thing that we encourage you to do if you are nominating someone is to help coach them in making sure that their CV includes these criteria. So we'll be posting a link to those criteria there as well. So it will be transparent what the items are that we're looking for.
Terrific. There's one that someone asked, are any academies full in any one of the disciplines? Rick, maybe you want to speak to that specific issue.
Sure, I'd be happy to, Jody. So we do have what are called caps, and the maximum number of active members that can be involved in an academy at any one point in time is 250. Nursing is in the 180 range, I believe. So they are the largest academy, as Jody mentioned earlier. Optometry is the second largest, which is my academy, and we're a little under 100. And then all of the other academies fall underneath that. So there is not an academy that is full at the present time. One of the things that we are looking at in the future is whether caps are the appropriate way to deal with an interprofessional organization as we move forward. As Jody mentioned, this is how the organization originally started. It was very much an honorific society. And 40 years ago, the 10 academies that started National Academies of Practice had a cap in place of 100 members. And the thought process was to have the best and brightest in each profession to be able to go to Congress and advocate for public health policy. That isn't kind of how things turned out over the last 40 years. Obviously, healthcare is a lot different today than what it was even 10 years ago. So we continue to look at our organization and make sure that we continue to remain vibrant and make sure that we have a purpose moving forward. So we've really tried to balance the honorific component with the interprofessional component. And at this point in time, that's why our criteria for membership and our rubrics reflect that you actually have to have both components to be involved in the organization. We're not interested in individuals who just want a title that they put after their name. While that is important to some people, that's not what is going to move our organization forward into the future. And quite honestly, Jody talked earlier about the distinction between a distinguished fellow and a professional member. Several years ago, we had a task force that looked at the fact that our distinguished fellows were advanced in their careers. Not only did they have 10 years, but a lot had 20, 30, or even 40 years. And subsequently, our membership was going way to the one side. So the professional member category, which maintains that you have to be at least 5 years post your degree, and you are an up-and-comer, I think adds lifeblood to our organization and ensures, if we do it right, that those professional members will become distinguished fellows at some point and future leaders within their professions and within interprofessional healthcare.
Let me piggyback another question that's related on this topic. And they asked, if someone's currently a professional member and you want to nominate them for a fellow, is it still the same process?
I'll let Melanie address that. It's a similar process.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so you would still go through the same fellow nomination form that is online, and they would submit the same application as other fellows. And when the academy goes to review that, they will of course know that that person is currently a professional member in that academy, but you would go through that same process. I will say too that since the professional membership level is still fairly new, we've only had it for a handful of years, our membership committee and our vice president of membership, Joanne Singleton, is working on developing materials that help you transition people from professional members to fellows in your academy. So more to come on that in the coming months, but that is something that we're going to be working toward, helping people make that shift, because as Rick said, we do want our professional members to continue to grow in the association, but certainly in interprofessional healthcare, and move on to become a fellow of NAP.
While I have you, Melanie, one more related around the nominations, which are great. I'm glad people are asking the question. Someone asked, Lynn Jackson asked, can you nominate if there's not an existing academy or profession in NAP? Can you do that?
So maybe we'll tag team on this, Jody, but
Yeah.
we definitely, so we have the associate membership level, and the associate membership does not have to have an existing academy within NAP. So if you know someone in a profession, they're working interprofessionally, but they're not one of our 13 academies, you can definitely at any time nominate, or you don't have to nominate them actually. Associate members just complete an application that we have online and become an associate member. And if they don't have an academy, then they become part of what Jody mentioned earlier, which is our brand new Associate Collaborative Group, or ACG. And we're just now developing that group, and Rick will be meeting with them. So associate members can be in any profession, and they just complete an application that does not require a nomination.
And while a nomination is not required, we certainly would encourage you to mention NAP to anyone that you think belongs in our organization and can add value and contribute. With that said, we're also in the process of trying to bring other healthcare professions into the organization and create academies 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And with that said, we have a process whereby either a group of like individuals in a given profession can petition to form a new academy if they have a bolus of individuals, or if there's just one or two, they can be part of this associate collaborative group, as Melanie mentioned, as associate members. And as they gain momentum and as they're able to encourage more of their colleagues to become active in the organization, they can then petition to become an academy. So we really want to see the organization grow. There's nothing magic about the lucky number of 13 at this point in time. And we really do see that as we head into 2021, 2022, and beyond, the number will grow. And what our criteria says is that you have to be a healthcare or healthcare related profession to be interested in NAP. And I think as we all start to let our minds wander and we start to brainstorm what some other professions could be that take care of patients and need to have that interprofessional component, we can see that there's a pretty large number that more than exceeds 13.
With that, Rick, as well, I have another question. I'm going to tackle this. One of the things that's important to know as we develop new academies is the design that we're using and trying to do this to set them up for success. We have been able to learn from 4 new academies that came on 6 years ago what helped them to advance, and they advanced at different rates. And we've learned a lot about what helped facilitated and what hindered. So that's actually how we're helping other ones grow based on what we've learned over the last 6 years. Someone said, are NAP members conducting interprofessional research projects, and how would I learn about that? So there's twofold. One, the new committee that's going to be on scholarship, I would say if you're interested in that, join that committee because you have an opportunity to shape that. The second thing is we were going to be doing networking to allow people to actually get together to start doing this at the conference we hope to next year. And the third thing is we have a pilot project that was completed that we're now in the process of refining, and it's, for lack of better term, it's a NAP registry. It will have another name, but it's compiling among our own what is the kind of research that people are doing and who's doing that and where they're doing it. And we actually were trying to develop a repository that we can have a mechanism where members can actually access and begin to tag on to interinstitutional, multi-practice, multi-center sites to begin to do that. So we're actually, last year with the pilot, we're refining the data entry and looking at data systems in terms of how to manage all that and give people access in a simple way while the back end is really robust that links to what we have. But that, the first place I would say is put your name in for that scholarship committee. That's the beginning of a really good place to do that. And watch for what happens with the NAP registry. It may change its name in the future to really represent what it is. Other questions that you might have? I've been scanning here if I've missed anything.
Jody, I want to go back to one while we're looking for other questions here relative to not hearing from a particular academy. I can tell you that not all academies are created equal, and the strength of an academy is solely based, as Jody mentioned, on its leadership. And as you can imagine, in most of our professional organizations, that sometimes waxes and wanes over time. So if your particular academy is not as active as you would like to see it, by all means, there's opportunity within each academy to also become involved. And that's certainly how I have gotten involved in NAP. As I mentioned, I'm an optometrist by training, and I didn't see things happening within my academy quite the way that I thought they should be. And when they were asking for people to volunteer, I found myself standing still and everybody took a step backwards. So there's nothing wrong with that. And, you know, I mentioned this just from the standpoint of there's plenty of opportunity to get involved, not only on the committees within the overarching NAP, but within your specific academy.
It may also be that some of the academies were waiting for this orientation to be done before they actually start communicating with you and not to overwhelm. But if not, we will send out a communication to all of them to encourage them to make sure you're all welcomed in the academy, and that they tell you how they meet or how they convene, so you have a sense of what that is. The other thing is leadership also. Myself and Melanie and Rick meet with each of the academy leadership in teams, and we talk to them about what their needs are, how we can help them, what are they looking to do, how are they trying to strengthen, and they set goals with all of you. So it's done both from a leadership as well as from a membership standpoint at both ends to make an academy really thrive. And it's only as good as the members that are within it. I don't know how else to do that. They're very distinctive. We also have a fall strategic planning and leadership meeting with all the council leadership, the chairs and vice chairs, and all the executive committee. And during that, we have inter-academy discussions where they talk about and share what they're doing, and they learn from one another about how to improve all of that. So there's a lot of networking and sharing going on. That there's more than one way to do that, and we can't possibly know them all. But if we start putting together how we do things, we all learn and benefit. Hopefully you're all getting the NAP Times, and you're all getting access to the Journal for Interprofessional Education and Practice. It's a great journal. Al Rundio would love to have people submit research articles. It is online. I will tell you, after publishing in a number of the interprofessional journals, it is probably the fastest turnaround for review on any of them that they've had. So I will give you that as well. It doesn't always mean it's favorable, but it's a fast review. Either way. And I have submitted to several of them, and I've been very impressed with how quickly they turn around and promote that. And the audience is our membership, also our partners with the University of Kansas, as well as an outright membership. Any other questions? And if there are others, you certainly can be more than happy to have you send them to myself, Jody Gandy at Comcast.net. They're both with a Y. Or to Rick Weisforth, our president-elect, or Melanie Bowser, and we're happy to answer whatever you have for questions. If you go on the website and you don't know who your chair or vice chair are, they are on the website. We have a few that we have to update because after the end of the forum, our leadership in some of the academies changed. So we're getting those pictures up as well. But every academy does have a chair and vice chair. So they're up there, and you can connect directly with their chair or vice chair. I'm sure they'd be happy to hear from you. With that, let's do a checkout question. And this one is much lighthearted. So with everything you've been reading, you've been hearing, you've been seeing, what gets you most excited that you're now a member of NAP and joining us? What gets you excited? And I'm definitely hopeful that next year we can actually hug each other when we see each other or shake our hands. Great. And I'm hoping many of you will come with the Hill on us. By the way, when we go to the Hill, we go in interprofessional teams within your state, which is great fun. I met 3 new people I didn't know from Maryland, and also 4 for Virginia.
Jody, it looks like we have everything from soup to nuts in terms of interest, and that's fantastic. That's what really makes the organization. You know, there's colleagues who have interest in IPE, there's colleagues who have interest in research, there's colleagues who have interest in advocacy, and that's what makes NAP what it is. It's a collection of great people.
And for many of you who were inducted as scholars, many of you are also academicians. So one of our, the 3 honorific categories is not educator, just so you know. It's scholarship, but many of our educators are the scholars, practitioners who may be scholars, and public policy. Some of you could probably have applied for all 3 categories, and you get in under one, but that doesn't mean you can't be involved in others. So you will be able to move and enjoy and learn regardless of what you came in as in terms of your professional or fellow membership category. I just wanted you to know that you're not wedded to whatever it is you came in. please explore whatever you want. Collaborating and networking is fun. Hopefully on your academy, some will be using Zoom, so you'll get to meet some. I know you're going to be ending, and I always end on time. People know me is I end on time because I trust that your time is valuable. You're happy or hungry. Some of you, I don't know what time it is. We're in California, Hawaii. We're all over the country. So with that, let me give a closing couple of comments and opportunities for Melanie and Rick, if we can go to the last one. Thank you for taking the time for what would have been a face-to-face orientation, but we wanted a way to really welcome you, to give you an opportunity to connect in the best way we have in virtual. This is how we do our town hall meetings, so you're getting a smattering. I'm excited because at least I got to see many of you that I didn't get to shake your hand. My goal for the meeting was to actually shake every person's hand who attended, which obviously I would have had COVID if I did that. So unfortunately, I can do virtual hugging to all of you and shake your hand in all kinds of ways. And I really appreciate the opportunity to have you here, to let you all see you are a distinguished group. We welcome you with open arms, and we can't wait for your activity and engagement and new ideas. We are open to ideas and creativity, always. That's how a lot of the things have happened in the last 4 to 6 years in NAP. Rick, any closing remarks from you?
I just once again want to congratulate everybody, Jody. Thank you for your interest in NAP, and congratulations on all of your professional accomplishments. We look forward to having you as part of the family, and most importantly, thank you for everything that you do each and every day for the patients and the clients and the communities that you serve. Obviously, healthcare is going to be super elevated when we come out on the back end of this, and we just look so forward to working with all of you and moving things in a forward direction. In the meantime, please be healthy and stay safe.
Melanie?
I just echo everyone's thanks. Thank you so much for your time today. I know there are a lot of webinars and things happening, so we appreciate you taking the time to join us today. And congratulations again on becoming a part of NAP.
And so thank you all. Do not hesitate if you have questions. We're here for you. Don't be afraid to get engaged. This is how it gets started. The committees that you saw, there will be another call in the NAP Times, so you'll see where to send that to Info NAP Practice. We look forward to seeing your names and new ideas. That's what makes us tick. So thank you all. 5:58, 2 minutes to spare.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Wow.
Very good.